Becoming evil usually doesn't start with bad intentions. It doesn't look like someone waking up angry and deciding to hurt people. When people look back at the worst things they've done, it didn't feel serious at first. Their standards shifted a little, which made them act in ways they normally wouldn't without question it. That's what makes it worrying. There isn't a clear moment where you realize you've gone too far. What once felt wrong slowly starts to feel acceptable, and once it does, you stop noticing the change. The uncomfortable truth is that people don't feel evil while they're becoming it. What they feel is a sense that what they're doing makes sense in the moment. That's why it's so hard to notice while it's happening. Nothing feels extreme. It just feels normal, like doing what the situation seems to require. And you've probably noticed this already, even if you've never thought about it directly. People don't act the same everywhere. The same person can feel completely different depending on where they are. We usually explain that by saying it's just different sides of their personality, but that explanation misses something important. Most of the time, it's not the person that's changing, it's the rules around them. When expectations change, people adjust their behavior to fit what's expected of them, because what feels acceptable slowly shifts. And over time, that shift stops feeling wrong, which is where things become dangerous. Here's where most people get it wrong. They treat evil like a personality trait, something you either have or you don't. But human behavior doesn't really work that way. We're constantly adapting to what's happening around us, picking up on what gets rewarded, what gets ignored, and what quietly gets shut down, usually without even realizing we're doing it. So when rules change, people don't really stop to think about whether something is right anymore. They start judging their actions by what's expected of them in that situation, often without realizing their standards have already changed. This is why harmful actions don't feel wrong at first. People tell themselves reasons that make what they're doing feel okay. They stop seeing it as a personal choice and start seeing it as something that's expected of them. What's interesting is that from the outside, the harm is obvious, but from the inside, it feels like doing what the role expects of you. And over time, it doesn't just affect what you do, it changes how you explain your actions to yourself. This is where rules really matter. Rules don't just tell people what they're allowed to do, they also tell people what they're supposed to care about. They basically set the priority list. So if the rules reward speed, obedience, and results more than they reward treating people well, most people will start chasing speed, obedience, and results, and the human impact will slowly stop feeling like the main thing, not because they're trying to be heartless, but because that's what the environment keeps pushing them toward. The tricky part is that most environments don't make this change obvious when it's happening. There's no moment where everything suddenly feels different. Nothing flashes a warning saying your standards are shifting. It happens through repetition, through getting used to things, through small choices that don't feel important on their own until they quietly add up. That's why saying you would never do something can be risky. It assumes your behavior is fixed and won't change. But behavior does change when the situation changes, even if you don't notice it happening. What psychology keeps showing is that behavior is far more sensitive to context than people like to believe. Change the structure someone operates in, and their behavior will slowly adjust to match it. Not all at once, but gradually. And because it's gradual, it's easy to miss while it's happening. One of the more uncomfortable truths is that people can cause harm without feeling cruel while they're doing it. Over time, actions that would once have stood out stop blending into routine. And once something becomes routine, people stop reflecting on it the same way. It stops feeling like a decision and starts feeling like part of the flow. This is why systems matter more than intentions. You can have people who genuinely see themselves as decent, and if the environment around them pushes distance, obedience, or detachment, their behavior will slowly align with that, not because they've lost their values, but because their attention has shifted away from consequences and towards staying in line. What's easy to miss is that this process doesn't usually feel bad. In fact, it often feels stabilizing. Rules remove uncertainty. They make things feel clear. And when expectations are clear and you're meeting them, there's a sense of relief. It feels like you're doing what you're supposed to do. This is why people usually don't stop halfway through and question themselves. By the time doubt would show up, the situation already feels normal. Things have settled into a routine, and once something feels routine, you don't really stop to think about it anymore. That doesn't mean people suddenly lose control. It's more that awareness fades without anyone noticing. Nothing dramatic happens. Some actions just become easier to do, others start feeling like extra effort. And over time, people naturally drift toward whatever feels simplest in that moment. You can usually hear this shift in the way people talk. The language becomes less personal. What they're doing stops sounding like a choice and starts sounding like something they have to do. And once people stop feeling like they're the ones deciding, their behavior changes without much resistance. What makes this work is that from the inside, everything still feels reasonable. Nothing feels extreme or alarming. If it did, people would stop. But instead, it blends into everyday thinking and starts to feel justified by the situation itself. The real issue is what rules quietly pull attention toward. When rules change, people stop questioning the same things they used to. Some consequences don't disappear, they just stop standing out. When speed, obedience, or results become the main focus, the human impact slowly fades into the background. None of this is meant to make you paranoid or cynical. It's meant to make you more aware of how easily behavior adjusts to structure. Strong values alone aren't enough if the environment keeps pulling behavior in a different direction. The moment to pay attention isn't when something something feels clearly wrong. It's when it feels normal, even though it shouldn't. That's usually the point where people stop questioning and start adapting. So the real question isn't whether people are good or bad, it's what kind of environment they're adjusting to. Once you look at it that way, evil stops feeling mysterious and starts feeling like a warning about situations that slowly change how people act while everything still feels normal. The unsettling part is how normal this can feel. People don't notice a big shift, they just adjust little by little. That's why paying attention matters. Simply noticing what your behavior is slowly adjusting to as rules and expectations change.